Hey Hayley, this is your Pinterest Power Up After video. I'm going to go over the changes and some recommendations for maintenance. So I was able to get, I think, 15 or 16 boards made. I combined all of your products into one board, but I did keep this one down here that had your other miscellaneous type products that didn't really fit with the wedding market. I kept them down here on a secret board, so I'm gonna let you kind of figure out, where you want to take things from here. Whether you want to integrate these other types of gifts and make some other boards for that. Like I said, getting a baseline down. We were gonna really focus on the wedding market because that's where most of your pins were being repinned, was your your bachelorette party favors and things like that. So I tried to pull in as much of your mints and corals as possible. Sometimes that's a little difficult given the pins that are on Pinterest. But these board covers pretty much all flow well together, and you can see how they're the lighter colors, not real dark and obscure. I did struggle with this one right here, just because I couldn't find a pin that I was happy with. So I used this one, which is a picture of yours with a bridal party of girls. I wasn't quite happy with the dark background on it, like just this darkness showing up. It just felt like it threw off the entire feel to me, but sometimes you got to do the best you can do. So that if you find another pen down the line and you want to change this board cover, or you want to change any of the board covers, feel free. It was funny, I added this pin the other day, and then as soon as I added it to your board, you got a repin on it, so that's nice. Okay, so we've done all wedding themed boards, and really broke it down pretty specifically just so that you could have more fill, have more boards. So, we did like different types of wedding inspiration. And if you notice, there's a nice flow here. So we started with like our seasonal board up here. You should always put your seasonal holiday boards first. And then I did a couple boards that related to your products like more closely. So you do bachelorette party, bridal shower favors. So we did bridal shower themes and drinks and menu. And then we did the party ideas, which has some of your pins on it, and then your gifts and keepsakes. So when I log out, this board will actually be up here because the space takes up a space when you're logged in. But the board will actually be in the top row, which is where I recommend that it goes, somewhere in the top row or in the middle columns of the first 3 rows, if you have multiple business boards. If you just have one business board, just put it in the top row somewhere. So then it should all flow very nicely together, then very naturally kind of flows into wedding planning, and wedding planning involves colors, and then there's some inspiration and bouquets, centerpieces, cakes, and it just kind of all flows from one topic into another. I do recommend trying to keep that flow as much as possible. Every once in a while you're going to have kind of a hard break if you switch from, say, wedding to birthdays or whatever, but I always recommend kind of having a leaderboard, which means that like this wedding planning board would be like my lead board. So it basically changes the topic and eases everybody else and eases everything into those secret, more specific kind of boards where they flow well into each other. So say for instance, if you were going to go to say a birthday board or a baby shower board or something, you would just have another board that's very general, or like maybe baby shower themes, and then you could break it down into other types of very specific boards. If you notice, all the board titles are searchable phrases. You should keep that trend because that is a big part of Pinterest SEO. Another big part of Pinterest SEO is the description. So just for example, I'll show you on here, we've renamed this, we've restated the title as wedding planning, and we made it wedding planning checklist, wedding planning guides, wedding planning tips, and other wedding planning resources. So you're going to feel like you're repeating the same words over and over sometimes, but some people will look for checklists, some people will look for guides, and so it's just sort of going to give you a multiple ways for people to find that board. Sort of like on Etsy when you use multiple keywords to find one listing. So your title should be the general type search, and then your description should be more specific keyword phrases fashioned into a sentence. Even though this is a list, it's still kind of a sentence because it has a definite end. You can also put like etc. or and more, or you can put for the, put for and then who the board would be for. So for instance, if I was talking about I don't think I did this on yours, but if you did like a boho wedding board, you could say, all those ideas, those boho cakes, boho dresses, boho decor, blah, 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 for the bohemian bride or the barefoot bride or whatever you want to call it. And that would make it into a sentence. So always have 2 to 5, when you can, 2 to 5 keywords and keyword phrases in your descriptions, and then 1 keyword phrase as your title. I do recommend having at least 25 pins on every board before you make it public. 30 is more ideal. Oh, I just noticed this one only has 20. I'll add a couple more to that board here in a second when I'm done with your video. Must have read that wrong. I thought it said 28, but it only has 20, so I'll add some on there. And then whenever you make boards, I kind of just come down here and put the boards down here as general ideas, and then I can tweak the titles. I don't add descriptions until I've filled in my pins, because your description should be very dependent on what kind of content's on that board. And then get 25 pins on it and then toggle it public. So you have quite a few leftover secret boards down here. I went ahead and made your seasonal boards, so summer, winter, spring for wedding, and those should rotate throughout the year because you don't want to leave your spring boards up in summer when nobody's planning a spring wedding, or whatever season that they're not planning for. So currently people should be planning for fall and winter, so I would recommend getting this winter board filled up as soon as possible and put up there, and any other winter and fall type boards that you want to make. So yeah, you've got some leftover boards here to get you started with ideas, and you'll want to tweak the titles and the descriptions as you actually fill it with content. For daily maintenance, I do recommend doing at least 10 pins a day. The more you pin, the more you're going to get found. So if you can do closer to 25 or 30, that's great. But I find that to be less sustainable than just aiming for 10 a day, because people tend to do 30 one day and then skip a day, and then do 30 another day and then skip 3 days, because they're burnt out or they don't have time. They spent too much time the day before. So just do 10 if you can, and try to spread those throughout the day. If you can get online and do like 3 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening, that's great. If not, I recommend investing in like a Pinterest scheduler. None of them are free. They do have a monthly subscription. Buffer, I think, is $10 or $12 a month. I'm not sure what Tailwind runs, but I think it's pretty comparable. And they will both schedule Pinterest pins for you. So for instance, for Buffer, what you'll see is you'll have this little Buffer icon when you are actually in your feed. And I don't think I have it turned on right now. I don't. But when you're actually in your feed, you'll have like that little icon hovering over here on the pin. And so you can just click that, and after you've set up your pinning schedule in the Buffer program itself, and say you want to pin at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., whatever, or 12 p.m., then once you click this Buffer button, it'll go ahead and add it in the next open scheduled spot, hang on to that pin, and then release it at that scheduled time, which helps you be able to pin throughout the day and not just dump 10 pins on your followers all at once, which I absolutely don't recommend that you do. It can be kind of a turn-off and can cause people to unfollow you. 1 or 2 of those pins should be something of yours every day. So it doesn't have to be a brand new piece of content. It can just be another image of the same product. Not the same image, like an alternate image, a different view or a different background or a customer picture or whatever, of the same product. It can link to the same place. It's fine, as long as it's a different image. or it can be one of your pins from your business board to another board. You just want something of yours showing up in your followers' feeds every day. And then the rest of them can just be repins from around Pinterest or from one board to another, or whatever. You just need to have consistent activity every day. And that's pretty much it. As far as releasing new boards, I don't recommend going crazy and doing like tons. And once you have your baseline, there's no really need to do tons of boards every week. But I mean, if you are really driving Pinterest and wanting to drive traffic, you could aim for one board a week. If not, you could do one board every other week. You should definitely be adding boards for holiday and seasonal events. And then once those holidays and seasons are over, toggle them back secret. Then you can pin to them throughout the year if you find something that's relevant, but then it's not cluttering up your feed, and that way your main page always looks very relevant to the current season and holiday. I think I covered everything. One last thing. Your actual business, your pins, your product pins. When you pin from Etsy, it's going to just pull in these keywords, and it'll pull them into this bold text, which is part of what they call a rich pin. So if you had like a website, you would have to verify your website and embed some code to get these rich pins. But because it's Etsy, it's automatically verified and automatically does rich pins for you. So it won't show you this bold text when you're pinning it. It'll just show you this bottom description part with all these keywords. But then once you actually pin it, your titles are pulled in as rich text. If you ever change those titles, your pin will automatically update itself. But this description down here you have control over, and you can change it. I do not recommend leaving it as just the keyword titles, because you already get that in the bold text and it just looks kind of spammy and duplicate. It's just a duplicate. So I'd recommend changing that to a two to four sentence description. It can be casual and conversational, story-like. You're not looking for people to engage on your pins, you're looking for people to like your pins. So more likable descriptions than engaging descriptions. You can use the first part of your listing description from Etsy, but keep in mind you only have 500 characters here in this description, so like the first paragraph or whatever, and you want to make sure that has some keywords in it. If you're using your copy from Etsy, it should. And then the other thing is, don't duplicate pins. So like I said, you can use a different image of the same pin, different angle, different, like this one, you have these flat lays of these cozy, but you also have the cozy pin. So if you wanted to pin another pin that directs to this listing, you could pin the flat lay, and that's fine. But don't pin this image again, because it clutters up the board. There's no need to. You've got one copy of it out there. The exception to that is on a different board you can, but at that point you should be repinning from this original board to that other board, not from Etsy, because you've already pinned it from Etsy. So go ahead and save this pin to another board if that's what you want to do. Go put everything on this board whenever you make it. So if you have a new product, go ahead and pin it to this business board, this bridal gifts and keepsakes. And then, like I said, if you have another board that you create where it would fit in, pin it from this board to that board. If you have any questions about anything, I know that's a lot of information really fast, so if you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can get me on Facebook Messenger in my group, www.facebook.com/groups/BlueFairyVA. If you have a testimonial or any feedback you'd like to leave me, you are free to leave that anywhere on Facebook, or you can leave it on my business page specifically, which is facebook.com/BlueFairyStudios. I hope that you enjoy your new Pinterest, and like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Bye.